Please note. Copyright notice. This material is copyrighted 2024. In all forms of text and media delivery. No artificial intelligence use whatsoever granted. Please refer to the author for all permissions. Tutorial 2. Ultrastructure of numeric entities. What the exercise in Cast 1 of this study has showed us thus far, is that there are sensible realities inside numbers, separate from the generic quality of magnitude. Every number has a signature, which pervades its expression, beyond its defining magnitude. A number's signature imprints every material object that it sponsors and adopts ontologically, in any manner. The following are important rules, relating to the ultrastructure of numbers, and composing their signatures, to keep in mind. 1. To access the endogenous realities of numeric entities, you have to open up the number. A number that is an integer, for instance, 1892, is already open in portrayal, so you can start the analysis directly on the observables. Irrational numbers that have been portrayed in just a few decimals, will largely remain closed or obscure, until you open the number by any method, to obtain a large numeric sweep of decimals in several dozens of digits at least. 2. The suite of digits is always sensible, and revealing, as to the inner qualities of the number. Here there are commonly patterns, repetitions being a common one. 3. Inside any suite or series of digits, both in the integer part and the decimal part of a number, there are direct observable numeric or digital portrayals, which we call explicit, on one hand, and on the other hand, there are also unobservable numeric expressions, which we call implicit. The unobservable or virtual portrayals of digits are as real and sensible as the observable ones. In the unobservable numeric order within the ultrastructure, there may also be relevant patterns to the signature of the number. Uncovering those hidden patterns, inevitably contributes to elicit the number's signature. 4. There is no separation between the integer part of a number and its decimal part, when it comes to the spread of the qualities within a numeric entity. Internal descriptors of a number walk across the entire digital spectrum, composing the number internally, without any bound or segregation. 5. In conventional math, the order of magnitude in a number is hierarchized from left to right, in the sense that the most significant digit is the leftmost digit, and the rightmost digit in the number is the least significant digit. Contrarily, the inner geometric qualities of a number that contribute to its signature, are dimensionally more pronounced toward the rightmost section of the number, whereas the leftmost sector of the number, will reflect the geometric qualities relevant to the signature, in a more conspicuous fashion. That includes both the explicit and implicit qualities inherent to the number, and whether the number is an integer or a decimal. 6. Whereas for ordinary people, numbers are closed, the order of magnitude being the single quality accessible to them, for a few select other people however, numbers are naturally open, as they enjoy the ability to see or perceive the ultrastructural patterns in the explicit portrayals, and to which they generally attach aesthetic attributes. The culture loosely dubs these special people synesthetes, and their ability, synesthesia. Symmetry discipline in the phi number. Let's summarize the different forms of categorizations innate to the phi number, as previously studied. 1. Prolific recurrence of number 8, qualifying it as a nuclear or root numeric entity defining the phi number. That stands for repetitive symmetry. 2. Expansive recurrence in the form of doublets and triplets, that is homologic symmetry. 3. Progressive recurrence based on a set rule of combination or operation. To represent sequential symmetry. 4. Cyclic form of recurrence or cyclic symmetry. 5. Palindromic recurrence. It construes palindromic symmetry, which is equivalent to Noether symmetry, in conventional mathematical physics. That is to say, invariance in figuration under transformation, as a pivotal or shifted revolution about a central digit, or group thereof. In palindromic symmetry, the simplest form of invariant is quantity or magnitude of the entire figure. If a number reads the same forward or backward, you ought to have moved around the number to read it backwards, or else you must have flipped the number around a vertical axis to read it. In palindromic symmetry, the movement is symbolic. 6. Conjugate symmetry based on odd and even attributes, as matching correspondence. 7. Chiral dimidiate symmetry, giving rise to the algebraic real number line. These forms of symmetry are all geometric qualities, accompanying the magnitude or scalar value innate to the number. These numeric geometric characterizations, and others not represented in the phi number, stand for what gives scale and complexity to the world. Remember that the world exists inside of the abstract world of numbers. Shall we not now believe with Plato, that the physical world represents an instance of numbers application? This is an important concept to retain, reflect on and internalize. When examining the suite of symmetry types, innate to the phi number, as enumerated above, it is important to note the increasing amplification, in the expression of the distinct forms of symmetry. They do not only distinctively differ from one another, but the very form of symmetry, or the quality of sameness in symmetry, becomes larger from one class to the next. Thus, the entire stack represents a symmetry discipline. That increasing modality is what is, first and foremost, translated in the logarithmic spiral, which expresses the geometry innate to the phi number. This symmetry discipline pertains to a deeper numeric order than the Fibonacci sequence, by which the phi logarithmic spiral is usually portrayed. The evidence is in the particular embedded Fibonacci sequence, within the phi number, that is, 48, 48, 58, 68, and 88. The eponymous primal Fibonacci sequence has an offset of two initial numbers, without which there can be no sequence or spiral. Those two numbers are the initial 0 and 1. The rule that prescribes for each term in the sequence to be the sum of the two prior ones in the suite, cannot produce a sequence without the arbitrary introduction of those two numbers at the beginning of the suite. The aforementioned higher order embedded sequence develops the full Fibonacci sequence with no offset, showing thereby the foremost primal numeric order dictating the behavior of the Fibonacci sequence. In the previous cast, we have shown how the primal Fibonacci sequence of 0, 1, 1, and 2, is recovered from that suite. Simply look at the difference between the first two terms, 48 and 48, to see how 0 is squarely cast as the first figure in the sequence. Furthermore, when translating the Fibonacci series to the geometric order, in order to obtain the phi logarithmic spiral, you necessarily need to arbitrarily introduce the second and third terms, which are both 1, in order to proceed with the graphism. Without getting too deep into that analysis, it is also from that primal numeric order that the Fibonacci sequence, through the figure of a ratio, inherits the algebraic canon of the real number line, which we have seen clearly reflected in the geometry emanating from this one suite. 74, 7, 204, 8, 56. Geometric representation of phi. One must consider the observable geometric representation of the phi number, a number resulting from the golden ratio, as a duplicate projection of its inner geometric properties. The number looks the same outside as it looks inside. That is to say that the number is completely transparent. The golden spiral is the representation of the phi number. It is defined in geometry to be a logarithmic spiral whose growth factor is the phi number, also known as the golden ratio. That is to mean that a golden spiral becomes wider, or moves further away from its origin, by a factor of phi, for every quarter turn it makes. Golden spirals are in that way self-similar. The shape is infinitely repeated, as the spiral is incessantly prolonged. To build the spiral, follow the construct of demediation of number 8, or pursuit of number 8 through demediation. The phi number will automatically appear along that line, in the way that I just described. Start with 2 geometric demediates of 8, meaning 2 squares. Create 2 quarter circles inside the squares in a demediate manner, meaning they have to join one another, to form a semicircle or half circle, demediate of a circle. Next, create a new square on the basis of the 2 sides of those 2 previous squares. In doing so, you make those 2 sides the demediate of the side of the new square. And the reason why you are sticking to squares, a 4-side figure, is because you are pursuing 8 through its demediate. From here, you can continue to build the golden spiral to any order that you wish. Both the dimensions of the golden ratio, and the derivate Fibonacci sequence, will become immediately and automatically observable in the construction. 3 important observations. 1. The first 2 squares from which you started, will represent 1 and 1 in the Fibonacci sequence, as their height dimensions. The next square will have a height that is twice or 2 times the height of the first 2 squares, that gives you 2 as the next term in the Fibonacci sequence. The following square will have a height of 3 times the height of the first 2 squares, that gives you 3 as the next term in the primal Fibonacci sequence. The next will be 5, and then 8, and then 13, 21, and so on and so forth. 2. At the same time, you will find that the radius of every quarter circle in the evolution of the spiral, augments by a factor of phi. Also notice that, the elements of the eponymous ratio are immediately drafted as well, in the same construction exercise. For every resulting rectangle in the construction, you obtain 2 ratios being equal to one another, and each being equal to phi. At any side, you have the proportion or ratio between largest over next larger, to be equal to phi. Generically, ratio, A over B, with segment A being largest, and the other ratio, A plus B, over A, with A plus B, being largest, and segment A being next larger. 3. Our ultrastructural rule number 5 stipulated that, symmetry figuration deploys most significantly, at the rightmost side of numeric expressions, as opposed to magnitudes, which are most significant or relevant, in the numeric figurations at the leftmost side of these entities. If you take rightmost for beginning, and leftmost for ending, the observable unfolding of the phi spiral makes that very clear. The observable augmentation is an expression of geometric symmetry inside the number. Another proof of this rule is that, in the numeric Fibonacci sequence, if you divide any number by its predecessor, you obtain a number that approximates the value of phi increasingly more closely, as you go down the numbers within the sequence. This convergence is a remarkable result, in the geometric sense. You may take a minute to verify for yourself. Note that commonly used names for phi, aside from golden ratio, are golden mean, extreme and mean ratio, and divine proportion. Talk about divine. If you want to go deeper, and prospect both the reason why number 8, which is the heart of this construction, institutes the root ontology of the phi number, and the origin of the innate symmetry discipline to this notable number, I recommend either one of the following readings. Chapter 3, Quantogeometric Number Theory, Publication, Quantogeometry, 2015. Chapter 4, Quantogeometric Number Theory, Publication, Quantogeometric Theory, 2024. Natural applications of the phi number. Applications of the phi number as a three-dimensional logarithmic spiral appear in many biological artifacts. Here are a few examples. Branching in trees and shrubs like the dwarf spruce. The exterior shell of leaves may hide the spiral, but you will see it, if you pay close attention. It is not one uniform flat shell, but a progressing convoluting shell. Inner fractals in sunflowers, and coneflowers. Here as well, the fractals appear very clearly as two sets of spirals evolving in opposite directions. Rose petals. At first, the spirals in there may not be quite clearly visible. But with sustained attention, they will become distinguishable, even more so if you remove the petals one by one, from the outermost ones. Arrangement of leaves on stems, and stems on trunk. The spiral growth may be difficult to spot in many cases, but it is there if you pay attention. Many houseplants feature this arrangement. Pineapple plants and fruits. They very amply exemplify the phi geometry. Stems follow the spiral circumvolution pattern. The top of the fruit features a green whorl, as a transparent or self-similar recast of the whole plant. The fruit shows on its thick skin, a pattern based on phi's perfect square. The linear arrangement of the squares follows a spiral circumvolution all around the fruit. And the cylindrical shape of the fruit, a palindromic rooted rectangular symmetry, emanates from the rectangle emerging from the perfect squares, as it is in phi geometry construction. Flowering of artichokes. If you scrutinize the green mass of the fruit, you will see spiral circumvolutions. Arrangement of pine cones bracts, in a large number of pine species. The double inverse spiral is quite visible. Applications of the logarithmic spiral in the phi number are plentiful as well in the elements and the cosmos. Meteorologists have accustomed us all, with the images of hurricanes far above, appearing in shape as a perfect phi spiral. Beyond the Earth and in the larger universe, the structure of spiral galaxies, a category of galaxies known for their winding spiral shape, represent in their striking geometry an expression of the phi number. Spiral galaxies are the most common of galaxies in the cosmos, and account for 77% of all galaxies discovered thus far, including the one that's our own home, the Milky Way. Among the living, there are many applications of the phi geometry as well. In Earth's biota, a great example of phi geometry is a nautilus shell, which contains a very smooth realization of the phi or golden spiral. And of course, animals such as mammals and human beings, in many ways, develop this form of geometry in their anatomies. It should come to no surprise that the activity of human beings under the sun may be shaped by the symmetries in the phi number as well, both at the phenomenological and ontological levels. The phi vortex may have in nature different functional utilizations. For example, while the nautilus uses its phi spiral shell to float at desired levels within the ocean's depths, by regulating the water within, the spiral arrangement of branches in the dwarf spruce provides for a larger degree of sunshine exposure to its squint primitive leaves. That is only because these properties exist as methods and attributes of the phi numeric signature. It is the proportional apportionment that exists within the structure or architecture of the entity that provides the regularity fomenting harmony or beauty. And that can be put in highlight across a broad swath of ontologies in nature as sought. As it is, for instance, in concentric rose blooms. Phi in human lives. Completely shave your hair, to discover the phi design on your scalp. Yes, the hair formation is a phi vortex, based on a multiplicity of phi branches, to produce a very turfy formation. Furthermore, as each hair follicle grows, it tends to curl in spiral, being extremely tight in black people of African and Australian descent. In some people, the vortex is even double or triple, with 2 or 3 different centers at apex of the head. In some other people, it is dynamic, starting as multiple vortices and ending up in one. Here we have to briefly talk about ontological types. It is a canon that encapsulates the Platonic essence, as an abstract representation of a primal group, of well-defined types. One of the first 2 translations of this abstract group, is in the instantiation of numbers, or the numeric order. The translation is an isometry between the elements of the abstract group and the number base, for instance the decimal number base. The signatures of each unit of the number base, homologically reflect the properties of each corresponding element, of the canonical abstract group. This canon also defines the norms of combinatorics, which we call operators in mathematics, and encapsulates them as well within the discrete numeric representations in the basis. Consequently, each numeric entity from the base, promotes a particular operator. Consider the operator as the unit of action germane to the canonical type. This also means that there exist many more combinatoric operators, than the long-known arithmetic operators. At the same time, this vision also portends that there is more to the arithmetic operators, in archetypal terms, than just calculational agency. Complexity, which occurs beyond the boundaries of the basis, is born out of this canonical architecture. Man is born individually in the complete ignorance of self. Not even sustained introspection, except perhaps very stylized and elevated contemplation, may tell man the desiderata, germane to his deeper origin. However, the knowledge of numbers and quantogeometric architecture, may reveal to man with great assertiveness, the ontological type, defined in original imperceptible and unrevealed desiderata. It may also disclose, the phenomenological trends molding the course of life, through the meridians and latitudes in the framework of life. By paying attention to the observable numbers of your life, it may summarily or with patience, all come very clear in a quite large degree. And the 3 crucial questions are: 1. Who you are meant to be. 2. What are you meant to accomplish? 3. Through which means, methods and paths. The knowledge of canonical types, and the inner quantogeometric trends innate to numbers as studied, are going to be your method. The data is all the numbers you are able to gather, from the unfolding of your existence. Examine all the numbers of your life, your present age, your house street number, your car's plate number, your assigned phone number, the important dates of your life, etc., that is to say, everywhere numbers appear in your life, explicitly and implicitly. Did you have a miscarriage, or a short-lived adoption, or a manifest intent thereof? And then one child from subsequent pregnancy? And another one child again at following pregnancy? And twins at next following pregnancy? Then recognize that the primal Fibonacci sequence has been shaping your life, that is the sequence 0, 1, 1, and 2. Did you have instead one child at first pregnancy, and twins at both your second and third pregnancy? Then the higher order Fibonacci sequence 1, 2, and 2 has been shaping your life. Is there a large recurrence of base number 8 in your life? Then likely to be the ontological stamp on your existence, and foremost descriptor of your psychological character, means that 8 is nuclear to you. If you experience a strong penchant for justice and equity, or the spiritual at large, or even leisure, correlate with types of activities in your life that profile clear numbers. Inner symmetries in those numbers may reveal the next circumstances or conditions of your life, which are also likely to bring you joy and success, because you are a nuclear 8 person. The same numeric conjuncture may also explain past circumstances in your life, as a major meridian of your existential framework. A very good place to look at, in this quest, is your own photo album, your family photo album, and your video gallery as well. There is a lot in there. Be mindful that to ascertain your root ontological type, is here, a crucial first step. Lastly, as I've said before, the canon of ontological types subsumes the numeric order, and presides the instantiation of the elements of the number base. Any number base you might want to consider. Reason why, when it comes to the decimal number base, each base number is attributed an operator type. Number 0 is not part of this order, making it a spectrum of 9 quantigeometric operators, which I now enumerate. Type 1 operator, Type 2 operator, Type 3 operator, Type 4 operator, Type 5 operator, Type 6 operator, Type 7 operator, Type 8 operator, and Type 9 operator. Each number, in the nomer, represents the corresponding attribution in the number base. This prescription is important to understand, in order to further grapple and prospect the course of one's individual life, and that's not only among humans, but the living in general. As we are quick to acknowledge, things are born and inevitably die thereafter in nature. However, the course of life is categorized on the basis of these 9 operators, which divides it in well-demarcated phases. All lives must span the following phases, on the basis of an important form of symmetry. Type 1. Infancy. Type 2. Childhood. Type 3. Adolescence. Type 4. Youth. Type 5. Early adulthood. Type 6. Maturity. Type 7. Seniority. Type 8. Elderly. Type 9. Senility. These ontological states are real, in what makes them differ from one another, because they are dictated by this very real spectrum of operators. Suffice it to review a family photo album, for these different phases of our lives to become palpable. We do not ordinarily pay attention to this suite of phases in our individual developmental ontology, because in consciousness, we perceive ourselves as invariably the same always. This is because consciousness is a palindromic-like symmetry. In a psychophysics study, my co-author and I, we have formally defined consciousness as self-awareness invariance, under continual developmental changes. Self-awareness is the very central element of the palindromic or the odd parity state, composing consciousness. It remains a constancy, no matter what sorts of transformations occur at the flanks. This comparison also shows you the true line of evolution of human consciousness as a whole, within the hierarchy of symmetries, that is. In order to fully capture a single point in the lifeline, you must factor in one of these operators, which will shape the complexity that you as a person represent at that point. We can take a look in graphism at the situation that this spectrum of operators construes, in terms of variables in the lifeline. These operators are embedded in the trace function, v of r, as shown in A. The function v of r models the dynamics in the energetic interactions required to sustain the ontology of the entity, while the r variable models the accretion of the lifeline. Some would say it's time. In fact, it's the correlational or orbital evolution of the beholder's residing planet around its ecliptic star. The trace function derives into the derivative dv of r over dr, which is the representation of biological vitality, with the particular shape that we observe. The curvilinear pattern is the rundown of the derivative vitality function, whereas the vertical axis represents its tallies. Notice the maximum level of vitality at the youth stage, on one hand. On another hand, notice the parity symmetry about the vertical line going through the maximum. If you sweep a ruler horizontally, from that point all the way down to the abscissa axis, you continually obtain 2 points on the rundown of the curve, tallied at the same value on the vitality axis. This is an important symmetry, and a signifying result that confirms the validity of the analysis. The value of proof is in our universal cognizance that there is symmetry in life, between senility and infancy. In both cases the body is frail enough for the two entities to experience the quasi-complete inability to hold it together. Babies crawl, and in senility, humans require a stick or other support to hold themselves together. Both require chair or bed for the most part. We can also agree, in lack of existing metrics, that our bodies hold equally well, in adolescence and maturity for example, as 2 points of parity in vitality. We surely remain aware that in one case, we are figuratively climbing up the mountain, and in the other, we are going down the mountain, just as shown in the curve. And finally, we know that there is this point of vitality, in our youth season, where the vitality or the energy is at maximum level, and there is no other similar point of utmost vitality to be had, through the span of our lives. This, overall, paints the picture of an accomplished inner palindromic symmetry. So the proof of the above operators intervening to shape our lives, is in the pudding. Not every school of biology and psychology is in agreement with the cut-off durations of some of these life stages. The underlying reason is that they are not set, and vary with groups, ethnicity, and individuals. If you want to be tight, and put dates on your timeline, informed by the history of your medical conditions, you will be able to graphically localize your own standard deviation point, and hence compute or project your potential particular lifespan, from the graph. Take that as a potentiality, since it is mainly the study of the inner quantogeometric patterns, in the numbers subtending your unfolding life, that may tell you, more or less exactly, when it will come to a definite end. Nevertheless, the statistics of age of death in the population show very interestingly 3 numbers. As of March 24, 2018, the average life expectancy for men is about 84 years of age, again, 84 years of age, and 86 for women. And the median, the age at which half the population dies earlier, and half of us dies later, is 78.7 years of age, again 78.7. I will let you mull over the significance of these numbers, and open them up yourself analytically. These numbers are from the U.S. Social Security Administration. Take them as a snapshot in time. Nevertheless, they remain very illustrative, from viewpoint of the state of lifespan expectancy, and correlationally. If this video has been informational or educational to you, and you'd like to learn more, please subscribe to my channel. I offer systematic tutorials with drill questionnaires, and other materials, to strengthen your learning experience of this novel and practical form of mathematical physics. You will also obtain the questionnaire for this tutorial when you subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you for your attention.